They zipped me into a body bag. I felt the cold plastic against my skin, heard the sound of the zipper closing over my face, sealing me in darkness. I was dead. At least, that's what everyone thought. The paramedics had given up. The police had given up. I had no pulse, no breath, no signs of life. I was just another overdose statistic in Portland, Oregon. Another junkie who didn't make it. But what they didn't know, what nobody could have known, is that God wasn't done with me yet. My name is Tyler, and I'm from Portland, Oregon. Born and raised in the suburbs in a neighborhood called Beaverton, about 20 minutes west of downtown. If you know Portland, you know it's a city of contrasts. You've got the hipster coffee shops and food carts downtown, Powell's books taking up an entire city block, the beautiful parks and hiking trails, Mount Hood in the distance on clear days. The city prides itself on being weird, keeping it local, supporting small businesses. But you've also got a dark side that people don't talk about as much. A drug problem that's been getting worse for years. Tent cities under the Burnside Bridge and along the freeways. People nodding off on the MAX train, the light rail that runs through the city. Needles in the parks where kids play. I've seen both sides of Portland, the beautiful and the broken, and I've lived both sides. I grew up in a good home. My dad, Robert, was an engineer at Intel, one of the big tech companies out in Hillsboro. He'd leave early in the morning, come home around 6, always tired, but always present. My mom, Linda, was a dental hygienist, worked at a practice in downtown Beaverton. She had Fridays off, and that was our day together when I was little. We'd go to the library, get lunch at this little sandwich shop she loved, just spend time together. We lived in a 3-bedroom ranch-style house with a big backyard, had a golden retriever named Cooper, who was basically my best friend growing up. We'd take family trips to the Oregon coast every summer, rent a beach house in Cannon Beach or Seaside for a week. I have memories of flying kites on the beach, building sandcastles, eating saltwater taffy, watching the sunset over the Pacific. Good memories, the kind you hold on to. My older brother Jake and I were close growing up. He's 3 years older than me, always looked out for me. We'd ride our bikes around the neighborhood, play basketball in the driveway, build forts in the backyard out of old blankets and lawn chairs. He got me into skateboarding when I was 12. He'd been skating for a couple years, and one day he brought home an extra board for me, a hand-me-down from one of his friends. Showed me how to push, how to balance, how to ollie. I was hooked immediately. There was a skate park near our house. Harmon's Swim Center had a little concrete park next to it, and I'd spend hours there every day after school. I'd do my homework as fast as I could, grab my board, and head out. I'd skate until the streetlights came on, until my mom called me home for dinner. I loved everything about it. The feeling of landing a new trick, the sound of wheels on concrete, community of skaters who became my friends. I was good at it, really good. By the time I was 14, I could kickflip, heel flip, tree flip, grind rails, drop into bowls. By 16, I was sponsored by a local skate shop called Cal Skate, getting free boards and shoes, competing in amateur competitions around the Northwest. I'd film video parts with my friends, post them online, start to get a little following. I had dreams of going pro, maybe moving down to California where all the big skate companies making a career out of it. It seemed possible. I was talented, dedicated, willing to put in the work. But skateboarding is dangerous. You fall. A lot. Most of the time, you get back up, shake it off, try again. That's part of the culture. You learn to take slams, to push through pain, to get back on your board no matter what. But sometimes you don't get back up so easy. It was summer, right after I turned 18. School was out, and I was skating every day, all day. We'd hit different spots around Portland, street skate downtown, session the parks. One day in late July, we went to Burnside Skate Park, this legendary DIY spot under the Burnside Bridge on the east side of the Willamette River. If you skate, you know Burnside. It's been around since the early 90s, built by skaters without permission, just started pouring concrete, the bridge and creating bowls and transition. It's rough, raw, intimidating. Concrete everywhere, graffiti on the walls, the sound of traffic overhead. But it's iconic. I'd skated Burnside a bunch of times, but I was still getting comfortable with the bigger transitions. There's this one bowl, pretty deep, maybe 8 or 9 feet, with a steep drop in. I'd done it before, but I was still nervous every time. My friends were hyping me up, telling me to go for it. So I stood at the top, put my board on the coping, took a breath, and dropped in. But my front wheels didn't catch right. The board slipped out from under me, and I fell straight down hard. Landed on my left leg, all my weight coming down on it at a bad angle. I heard a crack, loud and sickening, and then pain like I'd never felt before. White-hot, blinding pain that shot up my leg and through my whole body. I looked down and saw it. My shin bone, the tibia, had broken through the skin. I could see the white of the bone, blood pouring out. My leg bent at an angle that wasn't natural. I screamed. My friends rushed over, and I remember one of them, my buddy Ethan, going pale and turning away. Another friend, Marcus, pulled out his phone and called 911. The ambulance came fast, maybe 10 minutes, but it felt like forever. The paramedic stabilized my leg, gave me something for the pain, loaded me onto a stretcher. I was rushed to OSU, Oregon Health and Science University, the big hospital up on Marquam Hill overlooking the city. They took me straight into surgery, put me under, and when I woke up hours later, I had a metal rod running through my tibia, holding everything together, my leg wrapped and elevated. The pain was intense. Even with the medication they were giving me through the 4, it was a deep, throbbing ache that wouldn't go away. The surgeon came by the next day, told me the surgery went well, but recovery would take months. No skating, no weight on the leg for at least 8 weeks, then physical therapy. Then we'd see. Before I left the hospital, he wrote me a prescription. OxyContin 80 milligrams. Take one every 12 hours for pain. He handed me the paper, told me to be careful with it, that it was strong stuff. I nodded, didn't think much of it. It was just pain medication. Doctors prescribe it all the time. My mom picked up the prescription at the Walgreens near our house, brought home a bottle of 60 pills. I took the first one that night, and within 30 minutes, the pain started to fade. But it was the pain. Everything faded. All the stress I'd been carrying about my leg, about whether I'd skate again, about what this meant for my future, it all just melted away. I felt warm, relaxed, like I was wrapped in the softest blanket. I felt good. Better than good. I felt perfect. And that's when it started. At first, I told myself I was just taking them for the pain. And I was in pain, real pain. But I started noticing that I liked the way they made me feel beyond just pain relief. They made me calm, confident, happy. They made the world softer, easier to deal with. So I started taking them more often than prescribed. Instead of one every 12 hours, I'd take one every 8 hours, then every 6, then 2 at a time. My mom kept the bottle in the kitchen cabinet, and I'd sneak extras when she wasn't looking. She trusted me. Never thought to count them. The bottle that was supposed to last me a month was gone into weeks. I went back to the doctor, told him I was still in a lot of pain, that the medication wasn't lasting as long as it should. He looked at me, seemed a little skeptical, but wrote me another prescription. 30 more pills. Told me this was the last one, that I needed to start weaning off, that I should be healing by now. But I wasn't ready to stop. I didn't want to stop. Those pills had become the best part of my day. I'd wake up thinking about them, count down the hours until I could take the next one. And when I did, everything was okay again. When that prescription ran out, I panicked. I couldn't go back to the same doctor, he'd already told me no more. So I started going to different doctors, urgent care clinics around Portland, walk in places where they didn't know me. I'd make up stories, say I hurt my back moving furniture, that I had chronic pain from an old injury, whatever I thought would work. Some doctors saw through it, told me no, but others didn't. I got prescriptions from 3 different doctors in 1 month. I'd fill them at different pharmacies so nobody would catch on. Walgreens in Beaverton, Rite Aid in Tigard, CVS downtown. I was careful, strategic. But I was also spiraling. Pills are expensive when you're buying them illegally. A single OxyContin 80 could run $40 or $50 on the street. I started buying from people I met, friends of friends, dealers. There was this guy, Chris, who lived in southeast Portland near 82nd Avenue, an area that's rougher, more run down. He sold pills out of his apartment. I'd text him, drive over, buy however many I could afford. I burned through my savings fast. I'd saved up a few $1,000s from skateboarding sponsorship, competition winnings, birthday money over the years. It was supposed to be for a car, for moving out eventually, but I spent it all on pills in a matter of months. I started stealing, small stuff at first, cash from my mom's purse, $20 here, $40 there. My dad kept a jar of change in his office. I'd take handfuls of it, roll it at the Coinstar machine at the grocery store. I pawned things. My Xbox, my laptop, my camera that I used to film skate videos, told my parents they got stolen. My brother Jake knew something was wrong. He'd confront me, ask me what was going on, why I was acting different. I'd lie, tell him I was fine, just stressed about my leg. But he didn't believe me. We started fighting more, and eventually we just stopped talking. My parents were worried, but didn't know what to do. They thought I was depressed about not being able to skate, that I was going through something and would come out of it. My mom would try to talk to me, sit on my bed and ask how I was feeling. I'd give her short answers, wait for her to leave so I could take another pill. By the time I was 19, I'd moved from pills to heroin. It happened fast. I met a guy at Chris's apartment, another user, and he told me I was wasting my money on pills. Said heroin was cheaper, stronger, lasted longer. I said no at first. Heroin was a line I told myself I'd never cross. That was for junkies, for people who'd really lost control. I wasn't that. But addiction doesn't care about the lines you draw. One day, I was sick, really sick. I'd run out of pills and didn't have money to buy more. Withdrawal hit me hard. My body ached, I was sweating and freezing at the same time. My stomach was cramping, I couldn't stop shaking. I felt like I was dying. I called Chris, begged him to front me something, anything. He said he didn't have pills, but he had heroin. Black tar, $20 for a point. He said it would make me feel better. I drove to his place, hands shaking on the steering wheel, and bought my first bag of heroin. He showed me how to smoke it off foil, said I didn't have to shoot it, that smoking was safer. I put the sticky black tar on a piece of aluminum foil, heated it from underneath with a lighter, and inhaled the smoke through a straw. The relief was instant. The sickness disappeared. The pain melted away. I felt warm, safe, like everything was going to be okay. And it was so much cheaper than pills. That $20 bag got me higher than $100 worth of OxyContin. I was hooked immediately. If you've ever struggled with addiction, if you know what it's like to lose control of your life, drop a comment below and let me know where you're from. You're not alone in this. And if this story is speaking to you, hit that subscribe button, because what I'm about to share could change your life or the life of someone you love. Within 6 months, I was shooting heroin. Smoking wasn't efficient enough. I needed more, needed it to hit faster, needed it to last longer. Chris showed me how to cook it in a spoon, how to draw it up into a syringe, how to tie off and find a vein. The first time I stuck a needle in my arm, I hated myself. I looked at what I was doing and thought, how did I get here? But the high was so powerful, so overwhelming, that the self-hatred disappeared in seconds. My parents kicked me out when I was 20. My dad found my stash in my room, found the foil, the lighters, the syringes. He confronted me, and I couldn't lie anymore. He told me I had two choices: go to rehab or leave. I wasn't ready to quit. I couldn't imagine life without heroin. So I left. I lived on the streets of Portland for 3 years, slept in doorways downtown, under bridges, in homeless camps. Portland has a huge homeless population, and there are tent cities all over the place. I stayed in a camp along the Springwater Corridor, a bike path that runs through southeast Portland. There were maybe 50 or 60 tents, people living in tarps and makeshift shelters, fires burning in barrels, trash everywhere. Portland winters are cold and wet. It rains constantly from October through April, and temperatures drop into the 30s and 40s. I'd huddle under a sleeping bag in a tent, shivering, soaking wet, miserable. But as long as I had heroin, I could deal with it. I panhandled for money, held a sign at intersections, usually at the exit ramps off I-84 or on busy streets like Burnside or Powell. Homeless and hungry. Anything helps. God bless. People would roll down their windows, hand me change, sometimes $1 or $5. On a good day, I'd make $30 or $40. All of it went to heroin. I tried to get clean a few times. Went to detox at Hooper Detox Center downtown, a place that takes walk-in. But I'd leave after a day or two because the withdrawal was unbearable and I didn't have the support or structure to push through. I'd go right back to the streets, right back to using. I saw people die. Overdoses were common, especially after fentanyl started showing up in the heroin supply around 2016, 2017. Fentanyl is synthetic, made in labs, way stronger than heroin. Just a tiny amount can kill you. Dealers started cutting heroin with it because it was cheaper and more potent, but it was killing people left and right. I overdosed twice before the final time. The first time was in a McDonald's bathroom on Southwest 5th Avenue downtown. I'd gone in to use, locked the door, shot up, and everything went black. Someone found me, called 911. Paramedics came and hit me with Narcan, the overdose reversal drug. I woke up on the floor, angry and sick, because Narcan throws instant withdrawal. I left before they could take me to the hospital. The second time was in my tent in the Springwater camp. Same thing. I overdosed. Someone found me, called 911. Narcan brought me back. I should have learned. Should have realized I was playing Russian roulette with my life. But addiction convinces you that you're invincible, that it won't happen again, that you will be more careful next time. I ran into my brother Jake once, downtown near Pioneer Square, the big public square in the heart of Portland. I was panhandling, sitting on the ground with my sign, and he walked by with some friends. He saw me, and I saw the look on his face. Shock, then sadness, then something like disgust. He didn't say anything, just shook his head and kept walking. That hurt more than anything. More than the withdrawal, more than the cold nights, more than the hunger. Seeing my brother look at me like I was nothing. I lost track of time. Days blurred together. Wake up sick, hustle for money, cop heroin, get high, nod off, wake up sick again. Repeat. That was my life. I didn't think about the future. I didn't think I had one. The final overdose happened on a Tuesday in November. I remember because it was raining, that cold, relentless Portland rain that soaks through everything and chills you to the bone. The kind of rain that makes you feel like you'll never be warm again. I was staying in a tent under the Morrison Bridge, near the east side, close to the river. There was a group of us there, maybe 10 or 12 people, all just trying to survive another day. I copped a bag from a new dealer, some young guy I didn't know. I should have been more careful, should have tested it or done a smaller amount first, but I was sick, shaking, desperate. I went into my tent, a little two-person camping tent that was ripped and leaking, sat on a dirty sleeping bag, and got my stuff ready. Cooked the heroin in a spoon with a little water, drew it up into a syringe, tied off my arm with a shoelace, found a vein, and pushed the plunger down. The rush hit me immediately, but it was different. Too strong. My chest got tight like someone was sitting on it. My vision blurred, everything started spinning. I tried to call out, tried to yell for help, but no sound came. My body went limp, and I fell back. Everything went black. I don't know how long I was out. Could have been 5 minutes, could have been 20. But when the paramedics arrived, I was gone. No pulse, no breathing, no response to stimuli. They tried to revive me, did chest compressions, gave me Narcan, tried everything in their protocol. But nothing worked. I was dead. One of the paramedics, a guy named Scott, told me later what happened. He said they worked on me for over 20 minutes, which is way longer than usual. Normally, if someone doesn't respond after 10 or 15 minutes of resuscitation efforts, they call it. They pronounce the person dead and move on. But for some reason, Scott and his partner kept trying. He said he didn't know why, that something just told him to keep going. Finally, his partner, a woman named Rachel, said, "Scott, he's gone," to call it. There's nothing more we can do. Scott checked for a pulse one more time. Nothing. He checked my pupils with a flashlight. Fixed and dilated. A sign of death. He checked for any breath sounds. Nothing. He radioed dispatch, gave them my approximate age and description, said they had a deceased male apparent drug overdose under the Morrison Bridge. Then he unzipped a body bag. Body bags are thick black plastic, heavy duty, with a long zipper that runs from top to bottom. They use them to transport bodies to the medical examiner's office. Scott and Rachel lifted me to the bag, laid me flat, and zipped it up over my face. I was sealed in darkness, declared dead, being loaded onto a gurney to be taken away. But then something happened. Scott said he saw the bag move, just a little twitch, barely noticeable. He almost ignored it, figured it was just a post-mortem muscle spasm, something that happens sometimes after death. But something told him to check. He unzipped the bag, put his fingers on my neck, checked for a pulse again. And he felt one. Faint, barely there, but it was there. He yelled to Rachel, "We got a pulse. He's back. Get the oxygen." They pulled me out of the bag, got me on oxygen, started in 4, loaded me to the ambulance, and rushed me to Legacy Emanuel Hospital, one of the main trauma centers in Portland. I was unconscious the whole time, not breathing on my own, heart rate unstable. They intubated me in the ambulance, put a tube down my throat. I woke up 2 days later in the ICU. I had no idea where I was or what had happened. There were tubes and wires everywhere, machines beeping, a ventilator breathing. I tried to move, but my body felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. A nurse saw me open my eyes and immediately called for a doctor. They took the tube out of my throat, and I coughed and gagged, my throat raw and burning. The doctor, a middle-aged man with kind eyes, leaned over me and said, "Tyler, you're in the hospital. You overdosed. You were dead, but you came back. You're a miracle." I didn't understand, didn't believe him. Thought maybe I was hallucinating, that this was some kind of fever dream, but it was real. He explained what happened, that the paramedics had worked on me for over 20 minutes, that they'd zipped me into a body bag, that I'd come back. He said, "I've been doing this for 25 years, and I've never seen anything like it. You shouldn't be alive." A social worker came to see me later that day, asked if I had any family they could contact. I gave them my parents' number, even though I hadn't spoken to them in over 2 years. I didn't think they'd come. I figured they'd given up on me, written me off, moved on with their lives. But they came. My mom went into that hospital, me lying there with tubes and wires and monitors, just broke down. She rushed to my bedside, grabbed my hand, and sobbed. Deep, gut-wrenching sobs that shook her whole body. She kept saying, "I thought I'd never see you again. I thought you were dead. I thought I'd lost you forever." My dad stood in the doorway, arms crossed, tears streaming down his face. He's not an emotional man, never cries, always keeps it together. But he was crying. He walked over, put his hand on my shoulder, and said, "Here, son, we're here." I cried too. For the first time in years, I cried real tears. Not the empty, self-pitying kind, but the kind that come from somewhere deep, somewhere you forgot existed. I cried for all the pain I'd caused them, for all the years I'd wasted, for all the ways I'd broken their hearts. The hospital kept me for a week. Ran tests to make sure my organs weren't damaged, that my brain was okay, that I didn't have any infections. Social workers came by every day, talked to me about rehab, about getting clean, about resources available. I'd heard it all before. Been to detox, heard this. But this time, something was different. I'd been in a body bag. I'd been dead. And somehow, I was still here. I didn't understand it, didn't know why I got another chance when so many others didn't. But I knew I couldn't waste it. My parents helped me get into a long-term rehab facility in Gresham, a suburb just east of Portland. It was called New Hope Recovery Center, a faith-based program 9 months long. The rules were strict. No phones, no visitors for the first 60 days, mandatory church services 3 times a week, group therapy every day, individual counseling twice a week, work assignments in the afternoons. I was terrified. 9 months felt like forever, but I knew it was my only shot. Detox was brutal. They gave me medication to help with the withdrawal, Suboxone to ease the cravings, clonidine for the anxiety and sweating, sleep aids for the insomnia. But even with medication, it was hell. I spent the first week in bed, sweating through my sheets, shaking, throwing up, crying. My body ached like I'd been hit by a truck. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't think straight. But the staff was there. Nurses checked on me every few hours, brought me water and crackers, sat with me when the anxiety got to bad. Other guys in the program, guys who'd been through it, would stop by my room, tell me it would get better, that I just had to push through. And slowly, it did get better. After detox, the real work began. Group therapy every morning at 8. We'd sit in a circle, 10 or 12 of us, and talk about our addictions, our triggers, our pain. I had to face things I'd been running from for years. The shame of what I'd become. The guilt of what I'd done to my family. The fear that I'd never be able to stay clean. Individual counseling twice a week with a therapist named Dr. Martinez. She was tough, didn't let me make excuses or hide behind lies. She made me dig deep, made me confront the reasons I started using in the first place. The pressure I felt to succeed at skateboarding. The fear of disappointing my parents. The pain of losing my identity when I got injured. We had classes on addiction, on the science of how drugs affect the brain, on coping skills and relapse prevention. We had work assignments in the afternoons cleaning, cooking, yard work, maintenance. It was structured, rigid, but I needed that. I needed someone to tell me what to do, where to be, how to live. They introduced me to faith in a way I'd never experienced. I grew up going to church sometimes, mostly on holidays. My mom's parents were religious, and we'd go with them to a Methodist church in Beaverton on Easter and Christmas. But it never meant much to me. It was just something you did, something old people cared about. But in rehab, faith was central to everything. We had chapel services 3 times a week, Bible studies, prayer groups. At first, I resisted. I didn't believe in God, didn't think He cared about me, didn't think prayer would do anything. But I was desperate and I was willing to try anything. I started reading the Bible. Started with the New Testament, the Gospel. Read about Jesus healing, forgiving people, loving people that society had rejected. I read about the woman caught in adultery, how the religious leaders wanted to stone her, but Jesus said, "Let him who is without sin cast the first stone," and they all walked away. And Jesus told her, "Neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more." That hit me hard. because I felt condemned by society, by my family, by myself. But Jesus didn't condemn, he forgave. I read about Lazarus, the guy Jesus raised from the dead. He'd been in the tomb for 4 days, and everyone thought he was gone. But Jesus showed up, called him out, and Lazarus walked out of that tomb, still wrapped in burial cloths. I felt like that was me. I'd been dead, sealed in a body bag. And God called me back. I started praying. Not formal prayers, not reciting words I'd memorized, but just talking to God like he was real, like he was listening. I'd pray in my room at night, thank him for giving me another chance, ask him to help me stay clean, to heal my family, to give me purpose. And I felt something. A peace I couldn't explain. Like I wasn't carrying all that weight anymore. Like I wasn't alone. You've made it halfway through my story, and I want to ask you something. Have you ever felt like you were too far gone? Like there was no hope left? Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. And if this story is giving you hope, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. Let's build a community of people who believe in miracles, who believe that no one is beyond saving. I started sharing in group therapy, told my story, the whole ugly truth, about the pills, the heroin, stealing, the lying, the overdoses, the body bag. People listened. Some cried. Some nodded because they'd been through similar things. And for the first time, I didn't feel alone, messed up, to get better. There was this guy in the program, older dude named Carl, maybe 55. He'd been clean for 10 years, had a good job, a family, a life. Then he relapsed, lost everything, ended up back in rehab. He became like a mentor, told me that recovery isn't about being perfect, it's about being honest, about showing up every day and doing the work even when you don't feel like it. He said, you can't change the past, Tyler, but you can change what you do today. And if you do that enough days in a row, you'll have a few. I held on to that. I completed the program, 9 months clean. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done. Harder than any skate trick, any physical challenge, anything I'd faced in my life. But it was also the most important. When I graduated, my parents were there. My brother was there. They hugged me, told me they were proud of me, that they never stopped believing I'd come back. Jake pulled me aside, and we talked for the first time in years. Really talked. He told me how hard it was watching me destroy myself, how helpless he felt, how angry he was. But he loved me, that he never gave up on me for doing the work. We both cried. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I had my brother back. I moved back home, into my old room. It felt strange at first, being back in that house, sleeping in that bed, seeing my old skateboard in the corner collecting dust. But it also felt safe. My parents gave me structure, accountability, love. They didn't enable me, but they supported me. We had family dinners again, talked about our days, rebuilt what had been broken. I got a job at a coffee shop in being called Extracto Coffee Roasters, a local place that roasts their own beans. Started as a barista, making lattes and cappuccinos, working the morning shift. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest work, and I was grateful for it. My boss, a guy named Tom, was in recovery himself, 15 years clean. He knew my story, gave me a chance when nobody else would, taught me the trade. I started going to Narcotics Anonymous meetings at a church in downtown Portland, Central City Concern, a place that offers a lot of services for people in recovery. I went every day at first, sometimes twice a day when the cravings got bad. Got a sponsor, a guy named Rick who'd been clean for 12 years. He was a construction worker, tough, no nonsense, didn't let me make excuses. He held me accountable, called me out when I was slipping into old patterns of thinking. I worked the steps, all 12 of them. Admitted I was powerless over addiction. Came to believe that a power greater than myself could restore me. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of myself. Made a list of everyone I'd harmed and made amends where I could. I went back to see people I'd hurt. Went to my old skate shop, Cal skate and apologized to the owner for stealing from him years ago. Gave him money to cover what I'd taken. He was shocked, didn't expect it, but he appreciated it. Told me he was proud of me. I made amends with my brother, with my parents, with old friends I'd burned. Some accepted my apology, some didn't. But I did it anyway, because it was part of my healing. I went back to Burnside Skate Park, the place where I broke my leg, where it all started. Stood there and watched people skate, remembered who I used to be. I didn't skate anymore, my leg never fully healed. Still have a limp, still have pain sometimes. But I didn't need to. That part of my life was over, and I was okay with that. I'd found something more important. I reconnected with my faith, started going to a church in Beaverton called Sunset Presbyterian. Got involved in their recovery ministry, a group that meets every week to support people struggling with addiction. I shared my testimony, told people about being zipped into a body bag, about coming back from death, about finding God in the darkest place. People listened. Some cried. Some came up to me after and said they needed help, that they had a son or daughter or spouse struggling with addiction. I gave them resources, prayed with them, walked with them through it. I've been clean for 6 years now. 6 years since they zipped me into that body bag. 6 years since God pulled me back when no one believed. 6 years of showing up, doing the work, fighting every day to stay sober. I'm not gonna lie and say it's been easy. There are hard days. Days when I think about using, when the weight of life feels heavy, when I'm stressed or tired or lonely. Days when I drive past the old spots where I used to cop, and I feel that pull, that familiar craving. But I've learned that you can't run from pain. You have to face it, work through it, talk about it, and trust that God will carry you when you can't carry yourself. I went back to school, enrolled at Portland Community College, taking classes at night while I worked during the day, studying to be a substance abuse counselor. I want to work with people in addiction, living on the streets, people who think they're too far gone, because I know what it's like. I've been there. I've been in the tent under the bridge, I've been in the body bag, and I know that there's hope. I reconnected with some of the people I used to use with, people from the camps, from the streets. Some are still out there, still struggling. I try to help when I can. Bring them food, socks, blankets. Tell them there's a way out, that recovery is possible. Some listen, some don't. But I keep showing up because someone showed up for me. My relationship with my family is stronger than ever. My mom tells me all the time how grateful she is, how she prayed for me every single day for 2 years, even when she didn't know if I was alive or dead. She'd drive around Portland looking for me, asking people if they'd seen me, showing them my picture. She never gave up. My dad and I go hiking now. We hit trails in the Columbia River Gorge, up at Mount Hood, places I used to go as a kid. We don't talk a lot, but we don't need just being together, walking through the forest, breathing the fresh air. That's enough. My brother Jake and I are close again. He's married now, has a wife named Sarah, and they just had a baby boy, my nephew Owen. I'm an uncle. That kid doesn't know the old me, the one who was home and strung out. He just knows Uncle Tyler, the one who plays with him books, makes him laugh. And I'm grateful for that. I met a woman at church a year ago. Her name is Emma. She's a teacher, works with special needs kids at a school in Hillsboro. She has the kindest heart I've ever seen, patient, compassionate, full of grace. We started talking after a service one day, and I told her my story. I didn't hide anything, didn't sugarcoat it. Figured if she was gonna run, better to know now. But she didn't run. She listened, asked questions, and told me she admired my honesty and my courage. We've been dating for 8 months now. Taking it slow, building something real, something healthy. She knows where I've been, knows my struggles, and she loves me anyway. That's grace. That's what real love looks like. I think about that moment in the body bag a lot. About being zipped in, sealed in darkness, declared dead. About that paramedic, Scott, who decided to check one more time. About that faint pulse that brought me back. I don't know why I got a second chance when so many others didn't. I've lost friends to overdoses. Good people, people who wanted to get clean but didn't make it. People who are still in body bags, still in graves, still mourned by their families. I think about them often, wonder why I'm still here and they're not. But I've come to believe that I'm here for a reason. That my story is meant to show people that God can do the impossible. That He can bring you back from death, from addiction, from the darkest places you've ever been. That no one is too far gone. That there's always hope. If you're struggling right now, if you're watching this and thinking there's no way out, I'm telling you there is. It's not easy. It's gonna hurt. You're gonna have to face things you've been running from. You're gonna have to do the work, show up every day, fight for your life. But it's possible. You're not too far gone. You are not a lost cause. You are loved, you are valuable, and you have a purpose. Reach out. Call someone. Go to a meeting. Check into rehab. Talk to a counselor. Pray. Do whatever it takes. Because your life is worth fighting for. Your family is waiting for you. Your future is waiting for you. God is waiting for you. And if you know someone who's struggling, don't give up on them. Keep praying. Keep loving them. Keep showing up. My parents never gave up on me. They prayed for me for years, even when it seemed hopeless, even when everyone else said I was a lost cause. And God answered. He brought me back. Before I go, I want to ask you one last time. If this story touched you, if it gave you hope, if it reminded you that miracles are real, leave a comment below and let me know where you're from. Let's build a community of people who believe in second chances, who believe that God can do the impossible, who believe that no one is beyond saving. And hit that subscribe button, because I'll keep sharing stories of redemption, of transformation, of God's grace. Stories that remind us that it's never too late, that there's always hope, that miracles still happen. I'm Tyler from Portland, Oregon. They zipped me into a body bag after an overdose and declared me dead. But God pulled me back when no one believed. And I'm using every single day He's given me to point people back to Him, to show them that there's hope, that there's a way out, that they are loved beyond measure. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for caring. And remember, it's never too late. God can bring you back from anywhere, from the streets, from the tent, from the body bag, from death itself. There's always hope. Always. God bless you.